some of the videos I've seen were about the ragdolls and Half-Life 2 and how those have changed from the older versions or whatever. Now apparently they've been like fixed recently. I don't know. They still don't look exactly right as far as I can tell. I can't see where they've changed much. But back in the day I used to edit ragdolls in video games a ton. I would fuck with the ones in Max Payne 2 a lot because you could edit those with a text file. And one of the videos I was watching, which is an old video, but this was back when they kind of like first fucked up the ragdolls in Half-Life 2. I seen this guy talking about, he had edited the .phy, .phy, whatever you want to call them, files. I had done that back in the day because with Counter-Strike Source, the early versions with the egghead terrorists, they had I don't know why their heads were shaped weird like they were, but yeah, that first release of Counter-Strike Source, or at least, the actual full release of it. I didn't play the beta, but, that the retail or whatever first release in 2004, the ragdolls floated really, really slowly. It's like they fell downward in slow motion like a leaf or something. And I had edited uh, the .phy files back then. I don't remember exactly what I did. I think I had to open them in 3ds Max, but I opened them up and I'm pretty sure that the parameter I changed was the damping factor, or there was something in you know the .phy file that I changed. Now I don't remember if it was there at the start, but at some point it might not even be there anymore. But at some point in Counter Strike Source there was like I was like CL underscore damping factor or something like console command, and it wasn't considered a cheat. I don't think. But those really early edits I had done, so I basically, you know, edited the phi.phy whatever files, and I'm pretty sure I had to recompile the models, whatever it is. I think I had to use QC or I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but um, that would work back in the day. And I don't know if any of those servers had SV Pure set, but I think most servers do nowadays. But I didn't have any problems doing that back in the day. I always, kind of lament how they fucked up Counter Strike and how they wanted to fucking, basically monetize mods, which they had started that bullshit with TF2. Again, people get all over Bethesda for doing that. Why does Valve get a free pass? I don't know. It's like that one thing with Halo I watched recently. I made a comment. It's like he kept making excuses for why it was actually a good thing that there was backtracking in all the levels. And I'm like, why does Bungie, or Halo Combat Evolved get a pass on that when for any other game backtracking would be a reason it sucks? It's just such blatant fucking favoritism. But you know, I trailed off of this in one of the previous videos, but back in the day, everybody was pretty hesitant on Steam being a distribution platform for all the reasons that turned out to be true. But all of the Gabe dick sucking, I would say, started somewhere around 2011. Because at that point, that was when Steam was like officially mostly motherfuckers who had never even heard of Valve, much less played a Valve game. Like, even if they heard of them, they never played Half-Life or whatever. So it was, clearly it was made for different motherfuckers. It wasn't made for me anymore. I remember having to go from the WAN version of Counter-Strike to the Steam version because they shut down the WAN servers. And that's another thing. So I said in previous videos, because this is how I remembered it, that Valve shut down, or WAN shut down in 2004. But apparently it was just Valve's servers on WAN. there were still WAN servers up until like 2008 or something. But it was just such a blatant, bullshit thing. So they shut down the WAN servers just to force fuck everyone onto Steam so they could inflict their bullshit rolling updates or whatever. But, as I started to mention in one of the last videos on this set was, at first you could get decent deals on Steam. It was more convenient. And I think that's where this idea of Gabe Newell being the savior of gaming or whatever, like, really started at. But the thing is, whatever benefit might have existed for a point didn't exist for very long. And Valve had already done tons of evil shit, like I mentioned with that one guy that did the leak of like the beta stuff, whatever you want to call it. But nowadays, they want to pretend you don't own your games. They want to constantly fuck the games up. And it's just, they've done everything it's like they shouldn't have the reputation they do. And it's like, I have that feeling that anybody that's like sucking the dick of Steam or Gabe Newell had to show up, around 2011 or more recently. And they just didn't see a whole lot of this shit. And that's the weirdest meme I see happening all the time now of, Gabe Newell or Valve or Steam or whatever just don't do anything and win. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, if they don't do anything now, it's because of all the shit they already did. And, it's like you have to ignore reality to act like Steam is somehow a good thing. But that's how it is. If you live in reality, you're the piece of shit according to humans. How dare you try to get in the way of their psychosis. And they just want everything to be a fucking game of pretend. But I mean, Valve is way worse than EA or whoever else. So I don't know. It's at this point now that I think it's just, like truly a meme. There's probably a lot of motherfuckers saying that shit that don't even have Steam. But I mean, dude, I've been on there since 2004. Like, I remember early on when Steam, when Friends went down for like a whole year. It just stopped working. And eventually, it came back, but that's when they started changing Steam a lot. Something I noticed, saw this on Developer Wiki, I think. I had totally forgot about this. You used to be able to play board games with your friends on Steam, like 2004 or 5-ish era, whatever. And, I had totally forgot about that, but like when I saw that, it reminded me. I remembered doing that. That was pretty nuts. I don't know if they ever brought that back at a point, but yeah, I remember doing that a long fucking time ago. But yeah, I started using it in 2004. I went to it before I even had Half-Life 2 yet. And I activated my, Platinum Collection keys on Steam. So I already had, the base games of, Gold Source. But, so much has fucking changed over the years. And, apparently Gabe Newell has to charge more for something, Steam Deck or whatever it is, because, RAM prices went up. And it's like, well, that fat ass could just eat a few less 10,000 calorie cookies every day or whatever, right? Like, do you remember that old fucking video of, their like offices or whatever? It's like a 10,000 calorie cookie. I feel like that's bullshit. Maybe it said 10,000 kilojoule. I don't know. It depends where it's from. I don't know if it was imported. I don't know. It just seems not true. But yeah, like watching that video back in the day, like Eric Wolpaw talking about how everyone there just looked at him weird, and the bitch that's the bitch that stocks the fucking snacks just doesn't ever want to look at him or whatever. I used to think, because I remember I was like 13 years old, 14, I was like, well, fuck, I would like to work at Valve, and if that dude's kind of like weird or whatever too, I mean, we might get along, but I don't, probably not. That's the way these humans are. Even if they're outcasts, they're not victims, and they'll just, you know, they'll treat you the same. Humans don't, they don't learn anything from what they've been through because they've never really been through anything. Whatever they've been through, they deserve. I don't know for sure with Woolpaw, but yeah, they do all this elaborate shit. You know, Gabe Newell's is like a fucking trillionaire or whatever, but he's got to increase the prices. What? Because the RAM went up. It's like, I mean, you could just take a cut in your massive unearned profits. They're just a middleman. They just rob 30% off the top of everyone else's work. Dude, this whole time, that's all they did. Wherever the talent is at, they just buy them up. Because what they're really doing is buying out the competition. Right? Start with Counter-Strike and, the Narbacular drop shit that became, they hired the motherfuckers that made that to do Portal. This and that. But, yeah, I don't know. I would be considered an outcast among outcasts, so, fucking Eric Woolpaw wouldn't even look at me either. But they it's like they make all this easy money, but they got to do all this anti-consumer shit. Like, Steam does not have a refund policy. 2 hours or 14 days is not enough fucking time to figure shit out. In most cases, okay? That's not a refund policy. It's just not. And again, what are motherfuckers going to abuse that? Okay, so what? It's not like you can't afford it, right? I don't know. It's just all fucking made up. And it's like, apparently with their fucking cut on games on Steam, apparently goes down the more money the game makes. For further proving that the Matthew principle shit is just fiction. That's it's just human inflicted fiction. It's like, why shouldn't it go the opposite way? How about they get the most taken because they're the ones that have the most to spare? See what I mean? It's just humans just do evil shit every time. They just want to fuck over motherfuckers less fortunate than them. You know, they'll fucking rob the poor to give to the rich. And yeah, I'd fucking never play video games now if I really understood that shit. But like playing Counter-Strike, looking at the betas, like I've been playing 6.5. Holy fuck. It's like, dude, I wish I could have been around for that. Because, like, just 747, I haven't checked any others yet. But, funny enough, right when I looked at the timer on the recording, it said, 1337. Nice. I miss Leet Speak. I wish we could go back to that. Newgrounds and fucking, Planet Half-Life and Planet whatever video game and fucking, there's lots of shit. But I remember 1.5 being better, but it's like, holy fuck, I always wished I was a few years older than I am. Just so I could have been, 13 years old, 12, 13, to be able to play the betas of Counter-Strike. Because 6.5 already looks a lot better, even than 1.5. And of the kind of like modern gold source Counter-Strike, most consider 1.5 to be better than 1.6. But yeah, I wish I could have got a chance to play that back in the day. I don't know.